Welcome to Telling the Tale. It's a podcast that I am doing. I'm hearing you. Sorry, my bad. You're hearing me talk about every single Telltale video game. And with us, as always, the third wheel between the listener and myself, if you will. And he's got a little bit of a skewed perspective on things. I'm excited to debut Dustin Jackson.
Well, I don't want to come between you two.
Well, I've brought you here explicitly for that purpose, Dustin.
Then I'll do my best.
Dustin, how are you feeling in general in your life?
Wiggly.
Oh, okay. Define that and explain it.
Wiggling around.
Why are you doing that?
I don't know. It seemed like a good thing to do.
Okay. Yeah. Do you do that? Do you do any pre-show rituals?
Not really pre-show, but I think I brought this up before. How sometimes I'll get a cinnamon roll before playing the game we play.
That's true.
Yeah. Sometimes it's to offset whether I want to play it or not. Like before, it really started with Game of Thrones, where I was like, you know what? Maybe a cinnamon roll will help this go down smoother. But I was excited to play season 3 of Walking Dead, and I still got a cinnamon roll. It just kind of. It also helps to be like, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good. I'm excited to do what I'm going to do. But maybe a cinnamon roll will make it go down even nicer.
Is that your favorite treat?
I don't know what my favorite treat is, actually. It's a very good treat. The gas station near my house has raspberry cinnamon rolls. And I'm like, I like that combo.
A friend of mine, I'm reminded that a friend of mine recently sent me like one of those BuzzFeed type quizzes. Of just, it would show me 30 foods and I had to rank them from double thumbs down to double thumbs up in terms of how much would you want to eat this food right now?
Like that second?
Like right that second. And I was thinking like, man, I don't even know what this is. Is this going to give me a recipe at the end? Like, what is this doing? and then at the end, based on that, it said middle class.
Wow.
It was just trying to figure out what social class type foods I eat.
That's a strange survey.
Yeah, it was. I would
feel judged. I would probably,
hey, why did you do that to me?
Yeah, I would probably, if I got a result like that, I'd probably be like, should I eat different?
Yeah, and then, well, she shared me her boyfriend's result. And it was like strong lower class. And so some of these foods were ridiculous though, because it was like lobster mac and cheese was an answer on there.
Right.
And lobster mac and cheese is not a food that I would normally seek out, like try to go for often. But if you're asking the question like, would I want to eat this? Yeah, absolutely. I'll eat that right now. So I feel like I was maybe boosted up a little bit in the class system compared to what I would normally go for. One of the only ones I said no to, I was hungry when I took it, was an ice cream cone dipped in gold.
Dipped in gold? What?
Yeah.
What the?
Like
why would I ever want to?
Flake.
That's a bad thing to have on your list to judge what class you are. Even higher class rich people would be like, I don't think I would eat gold.
Yeah, I have an uncle who is involved with the development of TurboTax, who's doing pretty well for himself right now. I don't think he'd eat metal, regardless of how it's presented.
Yeah, that just seems like a bad idea for anyone to eat, no matter the class.
Speaking of eating people, kind of. The Walking Dead, A New Frontier, Episode 1, The Ties That Bind, Part 1, released on December 20th, 2016, directed by Jason Latino, written by, get ready for all these written by, Dustin. It's the most we've ever had.
Okay.
Brad Kane, Nick Brecken, Adam Esquenazi Douglas, Laura Hakim, Dan Martin, Desiree Proctor, and Pierre Choret.
That's 7 names.
That's a lot. And designed by Matt Boland, Molly Maloney, Michael McCormick, and Ryan Kaufman.
That's 4. That's not as bad.
Yeah, so this is the first episode of The Walking Dead. We're back in it. We're not talking about gold ice cream for the rest of the podcast. Of season 3. Season 3, we're in there.
We're right all up in there. Can I ask you a question, Mitchell?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Why do you think they call it Ties That Bind Part 1?
Because the second episode of this season is The Ties That Bind Part 2.
Ah, now I get it. Now I understand. Follow-up question.
Yeah.
I don't Well, this is more of a follow-up statement than a question. I don't get why you have a Part 1 and Part 2 in an episodic series where it's all parts.
Yeah, okay. That's a great point. I would say that I have no idea, and I won't know until we play Part 2. Because once we play Part 2 and see how it is, then we'll sort of make our determination based on that, I imagine.
Yeah, because I don't really see it being different enough to do it like this, as opposed to how they just normally do it. Like, yeah. Episode 2 could be called anything.
Well, okay, so here's a big part of why I imagine it might be which is that episodes 1 and 2 came out at exactly the same time. The season started with 2 episodes releasing instead of 1. Episode 2 also came out on December 20th, 2016.
Right. I guess that makes sense. I forgot about that. Now that you say it out loud, it makes a little more sense.
I mean, I guess I just won't know what makes these episodes more related to each other than the other episodes in the season until we finish it.
Yeah.
But, it is weird. That's a good point. We've seen, I would say, like, most of the season 2 episodes of The Walking Dead are pretty much just parts of one story.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the part where I'm confused.
Yeah, in season 1, you have a little bit more distinction. You have, like, the dairy farm episode.
Yeah.
Like, that's clearly its own little story.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. It feels like we've had Telltale episodes that just that don't feel that different from one another, but are still divided by, like, a different episode title. Like they still feel like a continuing same story, but who knows?
Yeah, so we listener, again, this is just me and you. Dustin's here, but don't worry about him. We had a conversation about whether or not to do 2 episodes this episode, and we eventually decided not to because there's enough to talk about with this episode. I'm going to invite Dustin back into the room. Give me a second. Hey, Dustin!
What?
You want to come back and do the podcast?
Yeah, hold on. Okay, here I am. Yeah, what do you need?
I'm taking the audience out of the room. I feel like this should just be you and me.
Okay.
I feel like we started this episode with a weird vibe, and I'm just trying to pave it over.
That, you know what? I couldn't tell. I think all our episodes are weird.
that is true. Every time we finish an episode, listener, again, okay, I'm bringing listener back into the room. Every time we finish an episode, I think both of us just kind of wait for the other person to say anything, like, oh, that one was good, and then we breathe a sigh of relief, or I'll have to do some editing on that one.
No, not a good day when it ends with that one.
Yeah,
maybe we can salvage this one.
It hasn't come up. I think it's come up like once in our entire run of the show. But there's been one time where one of us has said to the other, like, "Hey, can we take that part out? can we take that part out for real, please?" Yeah. We're just talking about The Walking Dead: A New Frontier.
We're just talking about Walking Dead.
We're just talking about Walking Dead. So season 1 is called season 1. Season 2 is called season 2. The 4th season is called The Final Season. This one is called A New Frontier, not season 3. Why do you feel that is the way it is, and how do you feel about it?
So it's weird because it doesn't really line up with the other seasons, but I kind of get it. Like, I mean, this is just, I've played this one before. I don't remember that much about it, but I do know it does kind of feel like its own thing. Like it feels like it ties into the story we've had going so far, but even when you start the game, it asks you if you want to start fresh or carry your choices over. Yeah. So for what I remember hearing, I was talking to my roommate Andrew about this. It sounded like their goal for this season was, I don't really want to use the word soft reboot, but we talked about how when making this season, it seemed like they wanted to make it as a good jumping on point. Like,
yes,
new story, new characters. It does tie into what happened so far, but you can get the gist of it. So a new frontier might just, make it more enticing for newcomers to be like, okay, I'll hop on this Walking Dead train, which is strange in this day and age when like the first 2 seasons are just like easily, like they go on sale pretty often and they're like all on Game Pass like all the time.
Yeah.
Like they're so accessible.
Yeah. It's always funny to see a franchise with a like attempted revitalization in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And being years removed from it, you can tell like that did not work. That was not the revitalization you wanted. In fact, it seems to only have been like pushed back to high prestige once it sort of returned to the old stuff.
Yeah. And that's kind of the vibe you get here. Like, I don't want to say people should skip season 3, but when talking about it with people online seem to say like, yeah, season 3 is probably the one you can skip. It doesn't tie into that much. Which I don't agree. I think you should still play it, but like I also get it.
Well, even just from playing this first episode, I can tell that if you have to skip one of the 4 seasons, it would be this one.
Yeah.
Just because you're playing as a new character, Javier, who we'll talk about a lot, I imagine, throughout this episode and the next. I was gonna say next 5, but we won't play this one episode at a time. Remember, because that whole expanse.
Oh, I remember
that there. Oh yeah, that their expanse coming up is going to be an interrupting force. But yeah, throughout this season of The Walking Dead, Javier's story is the story to care about.
Yeah.
And Clementine is there with you.
She's a supporting character rather than being in the driver. Like, even more side character than I would say in season 1 she was so far. Like, in season 1, she felt very important. It was
still about her.
Yeah, exactly. In here, at least so far, and I would assume going forward for the rest of the season, she is in, like, she's not even in your, like, immediate group right away.
No, yeah.
Yeah, she's a character, one of the characters you meet.
So I had a startling realization about when this game came out, which is that between episodes 1 and 2 and 3 of this season, like Breath of the Wild came out.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that is weird, right? Like, we're getting very recent with these Telltale games. Sometimes the way that we talk about the games on this show makes them feel like we're digging them out of the ground after being in there for centuries.
Yeah, like a million years in the past.
Yeah, but Telltale only fell like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, it's in retrospect, it's weird how fast we did this podcast after they fell. Yeah, it was like really soon after. We only waited like 3 years, if not like 2.5.
Yeah. We decided, you know what? This corpse is probably dry by now. We could probably do a podcast on it.
Yeah, wow. We really jumped the gun.
Don't worry. When we go through them all again, we'll do it better. The anxiety associated with you making that joke was immediate and full. Oh my God, dude. This was just a rough draft.
Would you play one of these games again?
I'd totally play some of, like, my favorite ones. I'd totally play again.
Yeah.
Tales of Monkey Island. I can't wait for the Sam Max Season 3 remaster.
Sure, yeah. I just think it's got to be like... It would have to be years for me. Many
I
years.
get that. I don't know how I would feel about replaying a lot of these later ones, like a lot of the choice-based ones, just because I was thinking about it earlier today, just playing this episode. It just suddenly hit me like, I always have to make these tough decisions.
Yeah.
It makes these games a lot more stressful than like the like I could just go through a Tales of Monkey Island and it would be totally I need to pick to save Elaine or LeChuck.
The number of difficult binary decisions I've had to do in my life has gone up considerably since I started this podcast.
Yeah, that's true. When we started the podcast, I didn't think twice about it. I was like, oh yeah, sure. And now it's like every week, it's like you got to make so many big decisions that you are going to live with.
Yeah, every single week.
We really have it worse than anyone, really.
I have to kill Doug again and again and again and again every time I make one of these choices.
And it's fine.
And I'm happy to do it every time.
Sorry, Doug.
So, how'd you feel about this game overall?
Just
this first
episode. This one episode. I liked it. I like I said before, I really didn't remember much. I remembered some like big parts of it that happened, but
anything that we've seen so far.
How do you mean?
That you remember?
Yeah, I just mean specifically this episode. Like, there are big things that happened in it that I remembered happening.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Did you finish season 3?
Yeah, I finished season 3, but I forget if I said it on the podcast before, if it was just between you and me, but I feel like I played it at like a weird time. Maybe I was just like busy with other stuff, like just had a lot going on, because it really did not stick with me for some reason or another. And I just played this first episode and I was like, I liked it. I probably liked this episode more than episode 1 of season 2. Well, maybe not. I think season 2 episode 1 actually has some pretty strong harsh vibes in it that make it pretty memorable. But I liked the chemistry between like your main 4 in this episode. Mm-hmm. I felt like the characters had pretty good relationships with one another. It established who they are pretty well. Like yeah, the thing with Gabe and Kate really don't have a very good relationship together, but the kids really look up to Javi. Even the chemistry between Javi and Clementine, I thought was I just really like the way characters bounced off each other in this episode.
Yeah, the relationship between Javi and Clementine and then Javi and Kate, I think, are both pretty good. I'm sort of waiting for the rest of those relationships to blossom a bit more.
Right.
And I'm sure they will. We've got time. Yeah, so 60% of this game came out in 2017.
That's not a small percent.
Not a small percent, and not an easy year for a video game to come out in. That is one of the strongest release periods of a video game, for video games, I mean, of all time. It is difficult to have come out in 2017.
Right. Man, that's crazy that you bring up that it came out the same year as Breath of the Wild. That doesn't even like, I'm thinking back to it now and I was like, is that true? I don't remember playing these two like anywhere near each other, but I guess I did.
Yeah, this feels so much older than Breath of the Wild, right?
Right. I mean, for obvious, it's the same Telltale formula we'd been getting for years and years, as opposed to something fresh and new like Breath of the Wild did for Zelda.
Well, in my head, there was like a big gap between like this and the final season of The Walking Dead. I thought the final season came out like 3 years or something after the last time they did Walking Dead. So it was like a coming home story. But no, it was like less than 1 year after the end of A New Frontier.
Well, especially since they did a collection of seasons 1 through 3 like in between seasons 3 and 4 when 4 was just right around the corner.
Ridiculous. They knew they were planning season 4, and they were like, let's just make this collection of 1 to 3.
We gotta
Ridiculous.
get some money coming in.
Yeah, I'm glad that the definitive edition eventually came out, and then they kind of stopped, because that version of the game is great, and has all 5 seasons.
It's great. It's great except for when it crashes. I forgot about that.
It should do that less. I have been telling it to do that less. It has not taken my advice. It's just how it is.
Yeah, I had the same thing happen to me this time where I beat the episode, I got the achievement, and then right when that pop-up came up, the game crashed, and I was like, there's that familiar smell.
Yeah, but I just think to bring up 2017 again, it's not just that, like, that's a pivotal year in video games. It was, but it's a pivotal year in game design.
Mm-hmm.
This came out right after Doom 2016, and then we're heading into 2017 where we'll get Breath of the Wild and What Remains of Edith Finch, and Persona 5 is going to come out in America, and there's a ton of indie games that like have a very strange relationship with game design. Hollow Knight comes out, Mario Odyssey comes out. It's one of the strongest years of all time, and I think that what looked like the future of video games just 5 years earlier, where The Walking Dead Season 1 started in 2012,
mm-hmm.
and won a bunch of Game of the Year awards. It was a very beloved thing. 5 years later, we're now in a position where the 2010s were huge for the innovation within game design. Not necessarily that big for like tech stuff in the same way that we saw games change during the 90s, for example, but it's a very significant decade for game design. And we're starting to see something that used to be so cutting edge feel a little toothless, I would say. A little toothless.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really hit as hard with me right now since I've already played these games to death. Like, it's like, just another one onto the telling the tale pile.
Yeah. That is a problem that we've encountered. We need a good way of, like, eating some ginger between the sushi, if you know what I mean. We need a palate cleanser.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah, but like I don't think there's anything in this episode in particular that I thought was weak or lacking. But like I was so excited to get back to The Walking Dead because the first 2 seasons of The Walking Dead I do think are better than anything else we've played in this format. On this podcast. They are the 2 strongest instances of this gameplay format. And this feels more like it's good. It's a very good episode. But it feels more like how Batman was good, or how Minecraft could be good, or how like when Game of Thrones was good. It does not feel as wowing as the first 2 seasons, and it's probably just because it's the 3rd or 4th after Michonne. It's the 4th Walking Dead game that we've played.
Right.
And also the 1 millionth at this point. I think the count is up to 1 million. Like Walking Dead style game we've played. And it's like good. Altering the formula. It doesn't want to do that anymore. It's good. It's fine.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, is where it's kind of landing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird because, like, what am I gonna do? Say, oh yeah, Telltale should really mix it up a little, like.
Like we know that they didn't do that. It's spilt milk at this point.
Yeah, well, it's that, and like we've played so many of these. I know it's not gonna change in any wildly different ways. and I'm just so used to it now, I guess. Like, it would be weird for me to pick now to go, like, I think they should really start changing it right now. It's like, oh, but it was fine when we did Batman and Game of Thrones. But here is when I'm really feeling it. So I agree with what you're saying, but I feel weird for thinking it too. But I get what you mean. Maybe we just gotta wait for the story to unfold more. I don't know, because I kind of get what you mean, because season 2 episode 1, it was that same feel, but like you had those quiet moments with Clementine in the beginning before she meets the family. You have the parts with her having to sneak around behind their backs. Here, this episode, at least gameplay wise, does feel more just typical Walking Dead.
Yeah, episode 1 of season 2 is almost the inverse of this, because episode 1, season 2 is like, okay, Lee's gone, it's Clementine, and there's no replacement for Clementine as like a side character. You just don't have a side character anymore.
Yeah.
So you're like the whole game is focusing in and closing in around the choices of Clementine, just showcasing how powerful and powerless a single person's choices can be in impressive situations like this. And in this game, it's all about family and society. And like, we're in this one episode, how many characters did we meet? Like, the main family had 4 people, but that's only after the intro, which we'll talk about, because that intro was wild. So that eventually went down to 4 people. And then there's at least 3 named people that we met at Prescott, which is the new I was gonna say a new frontier. It's the new like township.
New kind of civilization that you're. I wrote it down in my notes. I was like, oh, another one of these.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that there'd be a lot of these. That's kind of the point.
Right, but it is just kind of a familiar beat that you've already. I've done this already.
Yeah, in Michonne, it was cool that it was on a boat, and I think, like, even as aesthetic as that, like, just having it be on a boat made it feel a little different.
Yeah, but here it's just like another place. It's just another like regular place to keep survivors in.
Yeah, what was the name of the other, like, Hawthorne? Or was Hawthorne the boat?
Man, I already forgot.
No, Monroe was the boat.
Are you thinking of Crawford?
I am thinking of
Crawford's in season 1.
Crawford is the school.
Yeah. Kind of the same deal, though, but you get there after it's already gone to shit and, like, no one's left.
Where are they trying to go in season 2? Where, like, some of the endings can put you there?
Oh my god, I feel so dumb.
Is that Hawthorne? No. Yeah, it's one of those. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Wellington.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. But yeah, this is that. It's Prescott.
Yeah, I mean, there's those, and then there's also the one you go to in episode 3 of season 2 with I feel like all of my memory has been drained out of me.
House or Hose?
Yeah, the store that's kind of turned into kind of one of those. Like,
can that be Hawthorne?
I don't think that's Hawthorne. I don't know where this Hawthorne's coming from.
Dustin, I need a win.
You know what? It probably was Hawthorne. Now that you mention it.
Hell yeah, you're right.
Good job.
Yeah. And then you see Clementine, and remind me, how did you end season 2?
So I ended season 2. I killed Kenny.
Yep.
Like in the famous show. And then I left Jane because she's crazy and took the baby and made me kill Kenny. So I feel like that was just like not a good sign for someone you should be with. So I just had Clem and AJ go on their own, which I feel like is, when you say it out loud without context, that seems like the stupidest idea, a little kid taking care of a freshly born new kid on their own. Are you kidding me? But I guess it worked out fine.
Yeah, I guess so. You got in basically the same situation I got, I'm sure. Although I did go with Jane back to House.
Ooh, so I believe your flashback scene with her is different. With Clementine is different.
Yeah, and we can talk about that right now.
Ooh.
Yeah. Sometimes we put things off. Not this time.
Yeah, let's jump right into that pool.
Yeah, so I bet it's completely different. Halfway through the episode, Clementine meets up with Javi, and she's got him at gunpoint. But then, like, Javi's a very charming kind of guy, and he's like a former baseball player. He's just a smooth talker.
Yeah.
So he can just sort of become friends with Clementine. And later on, they're I think just sleeping next to each other in a cell, or you don't need to be in a cell actually, according to the choices, but sometimes you'll be in a cell.
Yeah.
And when you're about to go to sleep, Clementine has a flashback of different stuff for us. For me, we were back at House, which is Lowe's. It's spelled the same way as the store Lowe's, like Home Depot Lowe's. I mean, Lowe's is not Home Depot. I understand. I get it.
With a
you get
H.
it. We both get it. With an H instead of a L. And Clementine's taking care of AJ, who is still a baby, although Clementine looks quite a bit older. And Jane had just given Clementine a tattoo on Clementine's hand that just says AJ.
Oh, badass.
You didn't get a tattoo?
I did not get any sort of tattoo. In fact, while you gained something to your hand, I had something lost on mine.
Whoa, I'm excited to see that and how that goes. Yeah, so Jane gives Clementine a tattoo that says AJ, and then Jane asks, hey, are you thinking about maybe giving Alvin Jr. a middle name? Because he should have a middle name, and I don't think his parents gave him one. And Clementine said, well, I had Clementine say, because it was 4 people who had died, one of the options was Lee, which is clearly the answer, right?
Right.
So I said, yeah, Lee, how about Alvin Lee Goofball Jr.?
What a good name.
Yeah, Clementine is... I can't tell if she knows his last name is something else and is just not saying it, or if she's completely replaced his last name with the name Goofball.
It turned out Goofball was their last name.
Do you remember what their last name was?
Nope.
Did they ever say it?
So it was Rebecca and Alvin. I don't remember them saying their last names.
Yeah, both of which, by the way, well, Alvin wasn't, because Alvin is his first name, but Rebecca was an option for the middle name too, even though that is a woman's name, and this is a baby boy named Alvin. And Jane says, even though I had just said Lee, Jane says, I was thinking about Jamie, like my sister. It's good for a boy or a girl.
And you're like, nope.
And I kind of felt like, well, you shouldn't have let me say Lee first.
Even in season 3, Jane, you're always bringing up your dead sister.
Well, get this then. So she feels like I just gave her a tattoo. I just suggested a middle name. My work here is done. I'm going to tell Clementine, hey, you go sweep the perimeter around the hardware store. Right. So Clementine does. She's walking around. And then she comes back into house and she goes, hey, Jane, I just finished sweeping the perimeter. And she opens a door and finds that Jane has hung herself and is now a walker hanging by her neck. And yeah.
Yep, I remember that. I remember watching all those flashbacks. I remember seeing that and saying, wow, that's strange.
Is that what you got the first time? Like you got
I never got that.
You like looked these up separately?
Yeah, I just remember after I had played the episode, I said, what else could you get there? And I saw that, and I remember thinking it was stupid.
I think that is very in line with Jane's character. You find a pregnancy test on the ground, and it was positive.
Right.
Jane realized, like, I simply don't have the spiritual constitution to bring a baby into this world, especially if it's going to be Luke's kid, because she feels weird about Luke being dead.
Mm-hmm.
Luke was the other name that I could have said as the middle name.
So
and
Lee,
Kenny
Luke, and
was
Rebecca.
Lee, Luke, Rebecca, Kenny.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to name him Kenny.
That ain't happening.
Yeah, I mean, I still kind of like Kenny, but we have to be real about the kind of abuse that he was.
Yeah. Do you I remember what happens if you stay with Kenny. I remember the ending, or the flashback.
Yeah, what's the flashback there? Oh, also, just for the audience's benefit, Clementine, at the age of like 12 or whatever, does have to shoot Jane in the face now.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, good job, Jane. There was probably a better way to do it. Yeah,
probably.
Yeah. Leave a note. Do anything.
Yeah.
Do anything that helps. She's thinking, well, I got this tattoo on her, and I named the kid a little bit. I'm good on things to do.
Yeah, we really gotta write me out of this story so Clementine can meet up with these new characters.
Yeah, there was too much variety of ending at the end of season 2, so I gotta get out of here so it can just be Clementine going on. Otherwise, the story branches will be too much for the Telltale writers to account for.
Yeah, maybe he just never meets Clementine. She's fine
easier,
at
those. Yeah, so what happens if you go with Kenny?
So, it's been a while, so my memory's a little fuzzy. I might miss out some details. But I remember it has him teaching her to drive.
Okay.
Yeah, he's teaching her to drive that car they had at the end of season 2. Then walkers come and he gets killed by the walkers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just told me how Kenny could die the very last time, and I didn't feel anything.
Yeah, it's just writing him off in a flashback, so...
Yeah, I guess that's I understand wanting to focus primarily on a new character, because do we feel like Clementine's story has mostly been told? I kind of do. Between seasons 1 and 2, that's like the story of Clementine being sort of like the stand-in for the hope of humanity in season 1, and then becoming the reality of humanity in season 2. That's an arc. That's a completion of an arc. We can see more of her, and it'll be fine. And I'm excited to see more of her. I won't lie. When Clementine showed up in this episode, I was like, I know her!
Yay!
I did clap.
Yeah, when you hear that voice, because she's not shown on screen right away. And you're like, I know who that is.
I know that voice so well.
But what I got from my flashback was neither of those, because Clementine had nobody. So what happened for me is she has AJ on her back, and they're hunting for food. And so there's a rabbit, and Clementine's going to shoot the rabbit for them to eat. And before she can, AJ goes like,
cool.
and scares the rabbit away. And Clementine's like, God damn it, I'm so hungry, you child.
Yeah.
So they find like an abandoned car. She puts AJ in the car to hunt for the rabbit. She's like, I'm not gonna be too far away. I'll be right here. I gotta get us food. You just wait here. She does not manage to shoot the rabbit because walkers start descending onto the car that AJ is in. Clementine manages to take a good chunk of them out. But so when she goes to open the door to get AJ out, one of the walkers comes in and slams the car door on her fingers.
Oh, no.
And she's like, ooh, ow. And she manages to take out that walker that was attacking her. and she saves AJ, but that broke one of her fingers, and then it cuts to her with that finger amputated.
She's missing a finger for you?
She's missing a whole finger.
So, was there anything that happens to Clementine's hand in the Kenny one?
I don't think so, but maybe. Like I said, it's been a while since I've watched all of the flashbacks.
Okay.
But yeah, for me, she's missing a finger and you get a tattoo.
For each of the 3 endings, like, her hand's getting something happening to it.
Yeah,
I definitely like mine the most.
Yeah, maybe in the Kenny one, she gains another finger.
It's cool to have a tattoo.
Right, yeah.
I don't have one. Clementine's already way cooler than me.
Yeah, me too. I'm not even as cool as my Clem, and I have more fingers than my Clem.
No, that is actually more cool. It's more cool to not have to amputate your finger after an accident, but it is way more cool to amputate your finger after an accident than not amputate it and suffer medical problems because of it. I think.
Yeah,
that's my skewed perspective.
Yeah, I mean, they straight up show you her finger like all bent, weird, and broken, and she's like, fuck.
Yeah, you just file that one off.
Yeah, they do show that her arm still has that huge scar from season 2.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, man, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
She had to suture herself. You see, I'm kind of getting back into the Walking Dead spirit a little bit as we're talking about this. Remembering that suturing scene, that was tough.
Yeah, it's very memorable.
Oh, question for the aesthetics of this game.
Mm-hmm.
Did you keep graphic black on this time? I turned it off like normal.
I also did, but I turned it on here and there, and I think it does look better than it has in the first 2 seasons. Yeah. But I still kept it off. I don't know if it was just like I don't know if there was really any reason for it. I think I just kept it off because I was used to that at this point, but I do think it does a better job than it did just dropping it over seasons 1 and 2. But I'm definitely going to keep it on for season 4.
Well, right, yeah, because season 4 was actually built for it.
Yeah,
I don't think you can turn it off for season 4.
Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. With season 3, it was the last one that wasn't built for it, but it was still kind of designed in a way that's like the regular version is like halfway toward graphic black a little bit, maybe not halfway. It's just I can there's hints in the way things are shaded that like, yeah, we're gonna get a little more high contrast with the art style here.
Yeah,
especially compared to the first 2 seasons.
And I remember when Andrew played through it, when he was playing through the whole series, I was watching him play, and he did not play the definitive edition like we are. Mm-hmm. He just played the regular version, and I remember thinking it looked pretty ugly. I don't remember I don't remember exactly what it was. Maybe it's just my mind. Well, I don't know, because I had the thought watching him. I was like, ew, what is it? It looks like everyone's smeared in Vaseline. What did they do to this?
I mean, yeah, that's true, but also I think it's fine. I don't know. I thought this episode it looked pretty good.
No, I mean, that's what I mean. I played it on regular graphics. I was planning on playing it in graphic black because when I watched Andrew play it, I remember thinking, "Oh, this looks ugly. What the hell?" But then playing it now, I was like, "No, this is fine. It looks about the same as the other seasons. Maybe the definitive edition did some tweaks or something, or maybe I'm just being Mr. Crazy Pants."
Well, it's always a little different if you're not in the driver's seat, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, which is why you'll never know how good a game is if you watch someone play it. You'll never know. It's impossible.
You'll just have no idea.
You'll have no idea. It's impossible. If you watch someone on Twitch, you didn't play that game. Come on, buddy.
Yeah, come on.
It's not an audiobook. It's not like that.
Step it up, mister.
I don't have a real opinion on this. I feel like I'm channeling a character.
You're the judgmental gamer.
I'm the judgmental gamer. Yeah, that's my new I was gonna say QVC show. That's a shopping channel. What am I talking about?
You're the
I think I meant G4.
Yeah.
I'm the judgmental gamer on G4.
Yeah, you play games and you say, I judge people based on how they play.
Yeah. How is the game? Don't even know. How
Who
is
cares?
the person? Bad.
You make me sick.
So let's talk about the intro. I want to talk about the intro.
I guess 50 or so minutes in is a good point to talk about the intro.
Sure, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So we've got this scene of Javi running back to his family, and his older brother Henry, takes a couple swings at him because he's too late to watch his dad die. His dad is now dead. He was off doing something else. He was somewhere, probably for work with his baseball thing.
Right.
And it's a very powerful moment. Just this whole family is trying to get over the fact that their patriarch just died, and then the youngest girl, Mariana, she starts walking back to the grandpa's room with a glass of water, and the grandma goes, "No, you don't need to bring any more water for him. He's sleeping." And Mariana goes, "No, Grandpa's awake."
No, he's fine.
And I kind of forgot. I didn't see that coming. I forgot the game that we were playing.
You forgot it was a zombie game?
Genuinely forgot about that for a second. And it got me. As soon as she said, "No, he's awake," I was like, "Oh shit, oh no."
Oh boy.
Yeah, and they do this thing where they, I think the line is, I've written it down. "No, Yaya, Peepaw's awake."
Mitchell, I gotta stop you for a second. Did you say the brother's name was Henry?
Is that not right?
It's David.
Yeah, well,
Well, now you know.
Wait, for real?
Yes, yeah, I just double-checked to confirm, to make sure I wasn't the one who was wrong.
Why did I was sure about it. Is Henry a character in this episode?
I looked up Walking Dead New Frontier Henry just to make sure he is not a character in this episode.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. So his brother David, I guess. This scene where they're checking on Peepaw. It's done with constant fade to blacks. They only show you 1 second of the action each time,
right? And
they show you that their uncle or someone got bit, and he realizes he was bit, and they're trying to get Yaya, who was bit, into the hospital, but there's no way the hospitals are working anymore.
Yeah,
they're all just they're pretty screwed at this point.
Yeah, not a great situation to be in for him. I think this intro is very well done. Just perfectly timed, how after she says, "No, he's awake," and then it cuts to the title of the episode. It's you know what's happening.
Yeah. It's very well done, and they come out of this intro with they say some time later, and I think it's 4 years later. You can piece it together because of Clementine's age.
Right.
It's Javi and Kate, who is Javi's brother's wife, and Javi's 2 kids, who are not Kate's biological kids. Gabe, who is a teenager, and Mariana, who's a tween.
They're David's kids. He's the uncle. Javi's the uncle.
Sorry, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, they're David's kids. They're not biological to Kate. Kate was a stepmom to them.
Yeah.
But now they're this own little family unit, and they've got their own little relationship going on. Javi seems to be dating Kate loosely.
Will they? Won't they?
It's they will. Mostly, you can get the impression that I could probably not have a relationship with Kate during the season, But Kate's very forward with you in the car, saying things like, I just need to get laid. Am I right, Javi?
and Javi's like, haha, you're so random.
Well, when she says that, Javier looks toward her and his eyes just balloon.
Gulp.
It's very, very SpongeBob, like a SpongeBob reaction to sex.
Sweat running down his brow.
Yeah, and like later in the episode, you'll have an opportunity to kiss Kate or not, depending on how you play that. And I guess just David is so dead at this point that it's that's not like a factor anymore.
So dead at this point.
I don't think I was ever even given a dialogue option of it wouldn't be right you were David's wife. I think everything in the game is just like, dude, he's super gone. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, who even cares?
Who could possibly care about that? That's not on the table.
You got other shit to worry about.
Yeah, and Kate's a really interesting character because, like, in that not the intro, but in the first like main playable part after that, where they're in the car, Kate's smoking some weed, lighting up a doobie, if you will, and she's just talking out loud because the kids are asleep, just saying it right next to them, like, yeah, man, I kind of hate Gabe. He's so mean.
Sick. He's so mean and unpleasant. Let's get rid of him.
He smells terrible and he's having mood swings all the time.
He's got these like big gorilla hands.
I'm just going to say this. I do not want to be these kids' mom. And like most of the options that Javier has to that are like, dude, don't say that.
He is right there.
He's right there. And she's like, he's lightly asleep.
He might have dozed off 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, so that's like a weird relationship they have, and Mariana is a little bit younger, and I think just likes everyone, but she's just sad about it, about the situation, which of course,
yeah, understandable. Yeah, Kate, I like what they do with Kate. They characterize her in a way where I don't want to call her like a dirtbag, but she's straight up is like, look, I know I'm not the best. Like, I'm smoking this weed. I told David I wasn't gonna change who I am, but now she's forced into this more parental role to these kids.
I think it's more. It's kind of refreshing, just like this idea of, hey, look, like, I will do it. I will be their mother, and I'll do the tasks associated with it. But, like, I know I am bad at this to a point that is maybe not teachable. I'm just a bad person at this thing. I don't have this skill.
I'm a bad seed.
Yeah, and then, what did you have Javier? Do you think Harvey is the same name as Javier, like Miguel and Michael?
I never once thought about that. But it's possible.
Yeah. Anyway, what did you have Javier say to Kate based on that, like what she said there?
I think I remembered telling her, "Hey, you're doing okay."
Yeah, I think I said the same thing. Like, no, you're good.
You say that as she's complaining about Gabe right in front of him and also smoking weed.
My thing was like, yeah, I don't care if you're smoking weed, but just don't be mean actively to Gabe.
Right.
Like, yeah, if you think Gabe doesn't like you, I'd have to agree.
Yeah, I would not like someone saying that about me.
Yeah, so you find this dump. In the dump, there's some food. You find the people who had the food there. It turns out they didn't abandon it. They come back with guns. You hide from them. They kidnap you, put you in a truck. Clementine cuts down a tree. The tree deroads the truck. And then you're with Clementine. That's how that goes. And then the whole crux of the episode then is about, I just got to get back to the junkyard and find my family. And at the end of the episode, you do. And that's the plot.
Yeah, I think it's when you hit that trailer that I'm like, all right, I know I've played a Walking Dead in my day. I know exactly how this is going to go down. It's a little uninteresting at that point.
Yeah, I will say the core premise of there are bandits who now have our scent and are hungry for blood for some reason. They will keep coming back for us unless we do something about it. Has been in season 1 and season 2 and Michonne, and now it's here again. And I do think that, like, maybe that's just the Walking Dead aesthetic. If I watched more of the show, maybe I would know, like, yeah, that's the thing they do. That's what the franchise is about. And if you're not into that thing, you might just not be into the franchise. But it does feel like one of many things that could happen in a zombie apocalypse, and they do keep coming back to this one, like, problem trope.
Exactly, especially for a series where that up until now I feel has been pretty fresh. Like, I never felt that fatigue with season 1 or 2, but maybe a little with Michonne. It was feeling a little familiar, but here it's feeling really familiar. Like, I like the stuff that's in this episode. I like the relationship with the characters. But, like, the actual goings-on, the actual plot of what's happening, been there, done that. I'm not that into this.
Yeah, and I also think that Michonne gets away with a little bit just because it's a shorter season. It's not the same storyline, really.
Yeah.
It has references to the Clementine arc, but it's not really in tandem with it. It's just so much of its own thing that, like, it's kind of fine for them to repeat something every now and again because it feels like, oh, they're doing the Clementine thing, but here. And
it's separate
now
enough.
It's like we're back in it.
Yeah. And yeah. I don't necessarily think it does it badly. It's just I'm kind of over this. I know exactly how it's going to play out. Like, even when they first reached that trailer and they were like, wow, we could stay here. Look at all this food and shelter they have.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you're fooling me here, game.
The wool is over my eyes, I promise.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate because I do feel like this episode has some strong things in it, but it just can't really it can't shake the trappings.
It doesn't have strong bad in it. That could have helped.
You know what? If strong bad was in it, I would be more excited. Yeah.
I think we're coming across very negative. I thought it was still a very interesting episode in and of itself.
Yeah.
Not reaching the highs of the other Walking Dead games are kind of like, well, yeah, those are maybe the jewel of the genre, though. So it's hard to do.
Yeah, I feel like the good in it makes me like it more than the old makes me dislike it.
I think that every one of these Telltale games in the Walking Dead style is about choices to some degree, and how good those games are going to be comes down to how and why and what they're interrogating within the world of choice. Like, what are they saying about the choice? In that first Walking Dead game, it was... I think Walking Dead probably is the perfect franchise to interrogate with this format, because being in an oppressive situation like a zombie apocalypse is kind of the accelerant to saying,
right,
hey, your choices matter in the same ways they always have, but so much deeper now.
Yeah.
You don't hurt someone's feelings, they die. You don't get a little hungry, you starve. So, like, that's what that first Walking Dead game was about. It was about the ethics and mechanics and power of making choices. It's showing that even though you individually are fairly powerless, the butterfly effect of your choices can be very dominant in deciding what happens in your life. And in season 2 of The Walking Dead, it was all about what if you're rejected the ability to make your choices matter because of an oppressive force on you. And that's what Kenny was. Kenny was a manifestation of abuse, and abuse was defined in Walking Dead Season 2 as the inability to have your own choices affect your own life. That's what abuse is. And then in The Walking Dead: A New Frontier, let's just jump ahead to the 5 choices they wrote down at the end. Do you want to get back on the road, or do you want to stay at the junkyard? Definitely didn't matter. Didn't even matter when I was answering it. Didn't think it would matter. It was a non-choice.
Right.
Choice number 2. Do you let the driver go, or do you kill him? Well, in the context of this episode, if you do whatever you want, but then Clementine's right behind you, Clementine sees you doing it, Clementine's going to make a judgment about you, but I bet they're still going to be friends no matter what, right?
Right.
Do you get locked up? 94.3% of players got not locked up. I don't know how to get not locked up.
Maybe just not have Clementine's back. Be like, it was her. She did it.
So Clementine would still be locked up.
Yeah, the way I took it was Clementine would still be locked up, but you would be like on the outside.
Okay, but yeah, that's just one night, and then you're fine. And then 50.3% went with Eleanor instead of the other guy. What's his name? I went with Eleanor, so.
Trip. Barely
a name. Yeah, so did you go with Trip or Eleanor?
I went with Eleanor.
Yeah, this one might have impact later. Certainly not this episode. And
he was mean. I didn't want to go with a mean man.
He's just a little aggressive for good reason, but I would say just a little aggressive.
I don't want to say he's a bad dude, but also I don't want to go with him.
Choice number 5, 84.1 stayed with Clem to do the shootout with the bandits instead of just trying to run away.
Right.
And I bet, neither of these two characters are going to die from the shootout, so.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, again, we had these same complaints with Season 2 before Season 2's Episode 5 kind of showed its hand and explained what it was all about and recontextualized a lot of the way that we thought about these choices. And maybe that's why this episode is a part 1 instead of just episode 1. Because at the end of episode 2, maybe we'll be shown something to think about our choices here a little bit more then. But
maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I kind of don't see that happening so much. These choices have not been strong. And I don't know what we're saying with these choices anymore. It feels like now might be the time when Telltale is falling into the idea of it's just a good narrative structure for a video game. No, it's a good specific structure to interrogate the idea of choice.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. At this point, it just gets to, that's just what our games are.
Yeah. Will Wright, the creator of the Sim City and Sims series, he once defined what a game is in an interview as a series of interesting choices. That's all that a game is, because if you don't kind of have a minimalist definition of games, it can be a very wordy definition, and you can get ahead of yourself very easily. So that was his simplistic and minimalist attempt to answer that question. And I think the Walking Dead formula is the most pure, maybe, version of that idea. Just, hey, it's a series of interesting choices. And if they move the interestingness from the choice making to the narrative component, they lose that a lot. And I feel like that's kind of what's happening a little bit here. That's my worry.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I guess we'll have to see the route it goes down. That's a very lame answer to what you just said, but
all right,
it's I guess we'll see, man.
So 2 people get shot in the face in this episode pretty early on. Also,
Yeah.
not early on, just throughout it. The first one is Clementine. You know, like for all the debates that we had about like should we expose Clementine to this kind of fervor in season 2 with like should we let her or not let her watch Kenny kill whatever his name was, Carver?
Carver, yeah.
Should we let Clementine watch that? It feels pretty quaint now.
Yeah. I do like what they do with Clementine here, because at first I am kind of worried, like, oh, she's hardened by this world. Like, she's a real jerk to Javi, which makes sense, being in this cold, merciless world. But I like that as you get to know her, she softens up and you see that old sweet Clementine kind of pokes through more. I like that you kind of get... Like, you see what this world has done to her, but you don't lose what was there before with her. Like, it hasn't totally destroyed who Clementine is, and I really like that.
She got some bad bullets from this guy. They weren't firing, and she went to complain to him, and she was like, hey man, your bullets didn't fire. You almost just got me killed. And the bullet salesman was like being aggressive about it, pulling a knife on Javi and stuff. And Clementine was trying this intimidation tactic where she kept like loading a gun with those bullets, aiming it at his face and firing it. And it kept like not working. It just like sparked out because the bullets weren't good. And one of them eventually actually works. So then he just gets shot in the face. Clearly not Clementine's intention, but also like...
Clementine did just straight up kill
Clementine's been shot in the face, or Clementine shot someone in the face. I don't know.
She did seem pretty shaken up about it. Like, she was like, "Oh fuck."
Yes and no. Like, I could tell that she clearly didn't mean to, and was upset that it happened. But was she like, "Oh my god, I've killed someone"? I don't know. I don't think so. I kind of think this is like one of the things she's done a few times in her life.
I thought it was very funny, unintentionally funny, how after she does this, it's just kind of treated as like, oh, whoops, darn. Like, no one's that... It's not treated like, Clementine, you just crossed this major line. You fucked up in a royal way. Everyone's just kind of like, all right, well, put him in the cell. We'll figure it out. Even Clementine's like, look, can you just like can you just like say he was bad? Can you say like he was coming at us? And then they're like, God damn, all right, put him in the cell.
No one liked him.
Yeah, no one liked him. No one's that upset about it. Not a big, deal.
Not the biggest deal.
Yeah, I just think it's so funny that this should be a massive deal, and no one thinks it's a massive deal. Like, everyone's like, okay, we got to do something about this, but it's brushed over pretty quickly. Even the people who put you in the cellar, like, yeah, whatever, he sucked. Sure. It sounds like he was coming at you. Even though he really was, like, before Clementine shot him right in his head, he was backing down. He was like, all right, I'll cool it. You got crazy. I got crazy. So Clementine is definitely the one in the wrong here, but I just think it's very funny how no one really cares.
It's not even like manslaughter, it's murder.
Yeah.
It's like she for real did that. Not good, I'd say. Clearly not her intention, but that's not exactly important here.
Yeah, but I guess it's not important in general.
So the other one is that either Trip or Eleanor can take you back. Trip has to wait a day. Eleanor can take you now, but only on horseback. And you're going to get in trouble for it, you guys.
Right.
Because you're not supposed to go with Eleanor.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get there, they're all still alive. The whole family's still alive. Except for Mariana, who immediately gets shot in the forehead when you get there by someone from the bushes on the other side of the encampment.
Well, not immediately. You do some... It takes a couple minutes, but yeah. Like you save, you reunite with everybody.
Is to like how instantly it goes from totally fine to extremely bad. It's mid-sentence. I did not see it coming at all. I paused the game and I kind of laughed because, like, dude, Telltale. Really?
I saw it coming just because that's probably the big thing that I remembered from this episode. Like, that was the...
Well, that's not seeing it coming. That's remembering it.
I saw it coming.
Different thing.
I don't know. If I'm playing it now, am I seeing it coming because I know it's going to happen?
Seeing it coming is future.
Right.
Remembering is the past. It's like opposites.
Right, but I am... It's not like I came from the future into the past.
I'm gonna say I bet you didn't see it coming the first time.
Oh no, definitely not.
Yeah, she's like just talking about her little cassette player and like, yeah, the cassette player and then she just gets nailed immediately. It's so sad. It's like so instantly shocking and sad that like it can't be sad. Like, it's just so dissociating that you're like, wow, this world sucks. This is tough.
Yeah, not great. I just think about like this and like all the deaths in season 2 where it's like, who gives a shit? And like all these characters just die and then are immediately swept under the rug. And then just thinking about like how this one feels. Like, I get what you're saying, how you kind of disassociate with it, but man, talk about a death where you just feel the importance of it compared to like, what's his name, Nick.
Yep. Oh yeah, Nick was hanging on forever. Yeah, this one was really tough.
Yeah,
because like Mariana was the only family member that Gabe actually liked. She was the only one that was sweet to Kate and Javi, and Javi like had a chocolate bar ready to go, and she wanted a chocolate bar. She didn't get the chocolate bar. She was like, she died literally. I feel like 2 seconds too soon to taste a chocolate bar.
Yeah, they couldn't have just let her have that. Like the people in the bushes were like, no, hold on a second. She has that chocolate bar.
Yeah, they needed to act now in order for them to get the chocolate bar.
Quick, she's about to eat it.
It'll be gross if she licks it.
Ew.
Yeah, so, yeah, I wrote down in all caps, like, what the fuck, Mariana?
Yeah, like, I guess they picked the one character who you'd feel the worst about dying here.
Well, clearly,
I'd feel bad about anyone.
Is going to replace someone in their family dynamic, so it's the one that's most like her in age and gender. And she was the only one that didn't really have much of a problem. she was kind of fine, which is not okay.
Now she probably has the biggest problem of all of them.
Her problem has grown so large.
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough. I think about like, if you put all of the deaths in The Walking Dead together, like line them all up and order them in terms of most impactful to least impactful, I feel like this one might be in like the top, I don't know, 5. I feel like even saying top 5 is maybe not giving it enough credit. I feel like this one really is one of the ones that I think I might even put it right behind Lee, just because it's like so instantaneous and just so like you just feel how it's going to affect everybody.
I think my number 1 most impactful is actually Kenny.
Okay. I mean, that's a good pick too.
Yeah, and then Lee. I mean, those two are so far beyond everything else. Ben felt like a big deal. Just leaving what's her name behind in the woods felt like
Lily.
A big deal. Lily, yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, there's a lot of season 1
Carly
ones.
dying so instantly.
Yeah.
Like this.
A lot of season 1 ones. It's trying to think like season 2. Yeah, you're right. In season 2, it was harder to really care about too many of those people.
Yeah. I guess just because she's just like a little innocent kid, it kind of just, you feel it a little. Like, all of those characters you said, all adults, which makes it hit differently than... And like, I wouldn't put her above Lee, and maybe I
What
can
about
see
Maya?
her... Who's Maya again?
Oh, is Maya not one of them? Okay, never mind.
It's been a... God, I'm so sorry. I feel like every game we ever played before this has just been sucked out of my head.
Maya, I think, was the one who was on the autism spectrum in season 2.
Sarah
is really not even kind of close to Maya, huh?
No, so Sarah, for me, I felt like her death was impactful in maybe the wrong way for me. Like, I didn't feel... It felt like they were building to something with Sarah, and I felt really ripped off when she just unceremoniously is killed. So that one had a bigger impact than that, like Nick or even Sarita, where those deaths are just so quick and one even off screen. With Sarah, it's like it feels like you're building up to toughening Sarah up, to the point that when she just dies in such a lame way, you're like, come on.
Yeah.
It just felt bad. Here,
well, like we I think hung on to Sarah, or Maya as I like to call her. For
Maya as her friends call her.
Most of the episode where she has to die.
Mm-hmm.
But like there's 3 other times when she can die. And maybe some of those would have felt better. I don't know. But yeah, it is tough. Wow, I'm really just pulling names and slapping them wherever they go. I feel like this is my most dadly quality, for sure.
Man, I really miss that Randy character.
Remember a Partif?
How could I forget?
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, shame he slipped on that banana peel and fell off a cliff.
Dude, Sarah as Maya is not even like I was pulling something. It's just firmly I thought I was right.
Well, I mean, they both have 2 A sounds in them.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to give you a little credit.
Kenny's Duck's death. A lot of season 1 deaths I would actually put very high up, and I think maybe some of them, quite a few of them, might be higher than Mariana. If I can be honest about it.
I guess so. But I don't know. I feel like Maya still hits pretty hard. Maybe Maya's it is just coming off a... You got me doing it! You fuck!
No way! That wasn't on purpose?
No. I meant Mariana. You fucked me up, you absolute dick.
Dude, we
I
got
bet
on the show, dude.
Now you... Oh man, I nailed it.
You nailed it. Do we want to talk about anything else before we get into our segments?
I think we covered the big things.
Yeah.
It's a pretty short episode.
It's very short, and I think that's probably another of the many reasons why it was part 1 of 2.
It did give us a lot to talk about, though. You're right.
Yeah. It's weird that, like, if episode 2 if it's a part 2, like, why wouldn't that just be called episode 1B then? Instead of episode 2. I don't understand it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get it. Anyway, Golden Moment.
Golden Moment for me was just the family in the van at the beginning. I really like that they established their dynamic. It got me interested in like all 4 of them just like right away.
Mine is similar. It's the Peepaw's Awake segment just before
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the way it's...
The cinematography of it all.
Yeah, exactly.
So much of it is dialogueless, but you get how the story is progressing as they get further into the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good pick.
My weekly guy is probably Kate.
Okay, I could see that.
I like how much of a dumbass and kind of a shitty person she can be. I have it in my in my notes here. Like, I like how much Kate sort of sucks.
Yeah, she sucks, but like not in like a way that makes her like super bad. It's a believable kind of sucks. Where you're like,
Yeah.
You're not the worst.
Yeah, it's I feel comparable to Jane because I also saw Jane in this episode for the last time. Where
Right.
Jane was like, you really gave up all the way, huh? And like you're not interested in helping anyone anymore. And I have nothing but disregard for that kind of personality. And Kate's like almost the opposite because she doesn't care, but she will do everything she has to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, she's still gonna step up and help these kids, but she's not gonna, like, change. She's still smoking that dank weed.
yeah, she's tucking Gabe in, and Gabe says goodnight, and she goes, I don't love you, but good night.
I want you to know that I do not love you.
Yeah, I think that's a fun character to work with. I hope that it doesn't become a problem as the season goes on, but it probably will.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. It could just have her... It could be her arc where she just has to step up and really become the person they need.
Yeah, maybe she's the new Kenny, and we get to see yet another, like, problematic parent arc.
Right.
Who's your weekly guy?
I feel a little lame saying it, but I gave it to Clementine just because I
Sure.
really liked. We got that flashback that I thought was interesting with her, and it's like I said before, I just really like that balance they play with her. Where yeah, she is hardened by this world, like she's gone through many years in this world now. Mm-hmm. It's understandable what kind of person she is. She's holding Javi at gun. She has like a shotgun to his back. And she's very cold, very unfriendly towards him. But then as the episode goes on, you get more of that old Clementine coming throughout. I just feel like they did... It's a believable route that they've taken her character. Like, it makes sense where she is at this point, and I like that a lot.
Yeah. Was there any Telltale character named Maya?
Oh, man. Maybe.
What's the... Talia Forrester, and what's the older sister in Game of Thrones? She wasn't Maya. We liked her.
I'm looking up Telltale Games Maya, not getting anything.
Okay.
Mara. Was that a character? M-A-R-A?
Oh, Mira Forrester.
Mira, that's it.
Yeah, it's close. It's not exactly Maya, though, huh?
Not really. It's about as close as Sarah.
Did Batman know a Maya? Okay, I'll move on. What's your choice cut?
Whether to back up Clementine at Prescott or not. I thought that was since it all happens very fast. And, like, she did just kill a guy.
Dustin, that's mine too.
Really?
That's mine too.
We see you and me, same wavelength.
Simpatico.
For that one.
Yeah.
For that one part. Yeah, because you're immediately thrown into this situation. And I feel like I probably shouldn't have backed Clementine up. She did just kill this guy and is in the wrong on the situation. But also, I'm like... I care about Clementine more than this guy or any of you right now. So
yeah.
I am on her side, and right now Javi and her are best friends.
I have as a close second choice. You didn't get this, but just the ability to give Alvin Jr. a middle name. I thought that was pretty fun and a cool little thing to give the player a choice about in the middle of all of this shenaniganery. You know what you just reminded me of? I was talking about earlier about how I thought season 3 didn't look very good. I think the one thing that really made me think that was how Kenny's model looks in the flashback. I specifically remember seeing Kenny and thinking he looked awful, like something they did with his hair. Just like his hair looks good in scenes 1 and 2, like it's just very strandy. And here I was like, oh, this looks like a bunch of like just triangles you put on. Yeah. Oh, can I go back to I don't know if we've done this as a segment before, but now it's a segment Was there Benang in this episode? Yes.
Was there? I missed it. I missed the Benang.
It was at the bar.
You know what? That makes perfect sense. I don't know why
it is a liquid.
I didn't even think to keep an eye open for it.
Yeah, it's just there. I think we haven't seen it in a while. I don't think it was anywhere in Game of Thrones. I'm not sure what kind of form it would take.
I wish it was.
Imagine if it was just like a big burlap sack in the background of somewhere and it has the word Benang written on it, and that's like the closest they could get.
That would be fun. That would be great.
Dude, remember the Starbucks cup thing with Game of Thrones? Were you aware of that?
No.
During the last season of Game of Thrones, they forgot to edit out a Starbucks cup that's just on the table at a feast.
Oh, I did hear about that. Yeah.
They should have put a Benang bottle. Oh, I don't know if that season would have come out by the time Telltale made their one. But no, yeah, they should have put a Benang bottle there to do that same thing.
That would be great. I'd laugh.
That's why they have to do another. That's why Telltale needs to do another Game of Thrones. That's why.
Yeah, you could probably just do like 2.5 episodes until you get to the Benang, and then
just
probably just get it out of the way in the first episode, and then you can just call it.
Yeah. And I don't remember seeing it in Batman, but remember like how hidden it was in Tales from the Borderlands?
Was it hidden? Because I remembered seeing it.
You told me during the discussion that you did not.
In Tales from the Borderlands? It was in the bar, wasn't it? Wasn't it like one of the drinks at the bar?
No.
Huh.
No, Tales from the Borderlands, it was the very last episode after Helios crash landed onto the planet. And you're just walking through the wreckage. You need to go halfway through the tunnel, and then like a big earthquake thing happens. Don't go forward or else you can't go backward anymore. Turn around immediately. And then at the front of the tunnel, behind a thing, you can find a bottle of Benang. It's the only one in the season.
Right, I remember that conversation now.
Yeah, very hidden Benang. This Benang, and in Michonne might be the last time we've seen it. Very obvious Benang, like right up front.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost become more of a Walking Dead thing than a Telltale thing.
It's more in The Walking Dead than any of their others.
Yeah, it's the 4th Benang we've seen in Walking Dead.
Ain't that just a shit? Ain't that just a thing?
It's so frustrating that not every Telltale game has Benang in it.
You know what? I feel like if they did have Benang in every episode, we would have no complaints.
Not every episode, just every series.
Oh, I thought you meant every single episode of Telltale.
No, just every Telltale game. So, like, somewhere in all of the Batman stuff, I don't remember seeing any Benang, but there should have been. There should have been a little Benang.
I don't remember seeing any.
And yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not in Game of Thrones.
Probably not, but we can't say for sure.
Ooh, do you want to bet, Dustin? We're going to be playing The Expanse soon.
Okay.
Next episode, actually, listener, we're going to be playing The Expanse, a Telltale series. The first episode comes out within the week. I think it'll be out-ish by the time you listen to this episode, or around the time that you listen to this episode at the very least. Do we think we'll see Benang?
Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna call you out right here on the podcast. I just looked up an article on Benang in Telltale games, and looky what I just found, mister.
What'd you find?
Benang right there in the bar in Tales from the Borderlands.
Oh, you're right. But you don't get any, though. And you get some on the other time in Tales from the Borderlands.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Well, that's weird because the why would they make such a secret Benang when Benang's already in it?
You got me.
That's weird. Like because the secret one is so secret.
They just thought it would be fun. And it was.
Yeah, it was. You're right.
Yeah.
Will we see Benang in The Expanse?
I would wager no, but you never know. I would love to be wrong.
What's your thought process?
Well, it's a different studio making it, for one.
True.
And for two, I just feel like I don't know if it's a series that would
it's kind of a different studio. It's still Telltale.
Right, but isn't a different studio actually developing it, though?
Deck 9 is the developer on list, yes, but there's a bunch of people from Telltale at Deck 9, and also it's being created in conjunction with Telltale.
Right. It just feels like
it is a Telltale game.
Right. It just feels like maybe a couple small steps removed from where I would expect it, but I'm not saying it couldn't happen.
Dustin, I'm gonna bet that it happens. What do we get if I win?
What do you want if you win?
Benang, mostly, but no, it doesn't exist. And also, I wouldn't like it because I don't like bananas.
I'm not. So my thing with bananas is
this is good pod.
Yeah, for the first episode of The Walking Dead Season 3.
Yeah, what's your thing with bananas?
I feel like I don't like bananas on their own that much, but I like bananas in things. Like, I'll drink a nice strawberry banana smoothie. I'll drink that to the moon and back. Or, like, bananas in pancakes, I think are good. But I don't really see myself ever eating just, like, a banana on its own.
No, I don't like them.
That's okay. I won't tell them. Yeah, see ya!